Many people had already been rescued from the hotel, but the fire was still out of control. On the streets below the hotel, Joan Benevento waited, hoping that her husband and their children were still alive. The injured were brought to a makeshift triage area near the hotel pool.
Most of the victims had respiratory problems because of the smoke. Fractures or some kind of burns.
Among the wounded on the pool lounge chairs, Joan Benevento found her husband, John. Both his legs had been broken when he jumped from the casino window and fell 15 feet to the roof below.
By the time I arrived, he had been told that the kids were inside, and he was just yelling, "God won't take my kids. God, please don't take my kids." He was just beside himself, and I think having to deal with him and try and get him calmed down helped me at least start to move and think again. I saw people being brought down ladders from balcony to balcony. From where I was standing at times, they looked like small people, and I thought, maybe that's them. But as I would watch, it wasn't, and I did not see them at all.
National Guard Colonel Jose Maldonado was the third chopper pilot on the scene.
Our blades were just simply too large to land on top of the building, so what we did is we hovered next to the building, placed the helicopter with one skid on the side of the building, and people jumped onto our helicopter. The smoke columns and the heat columns coming up jolted our helo. Sometimes it would just take us off. The smoke got very thick. I was afraid fire was going to progress through the building.
We stood behind the barriers, and it was probably the longest hour that we've ever spent.
And I happened to just focus my eyes on two girls coming down out of the rooms. When they were just 3/4 of the way down, it just hit me that it was them.
And at that point, there was no barrier that can stop us. We just tore in, we jumped over the barrier, and we ran over. All four of us were holding on to one another, crying, and just a very joyful reunion. And it was just something that will never, ever go from our mind.
Sandy and Jody Wolf were taken to a nearby hospital and treated for smoke inhalation. Hospitals all over the city were receiving casualties from the fire.
John would not go in an ambulance. He would not go anywhere until he knew something about the kids.
It was totally helplessness for me, not to be able to get up. All I thought about 4 hours were my children. Where are they? Were they upstairs? Were they in an elevator? I was just praying that somebody would find them and help them.
Someone from our group told me that they were bringing the people from the roof down onto the beach. So I went right away back down to where the helicopter was coming in. And I think my heart sank because they were all adults. And my thought was, children would have come down first. If my kids had been up there, they would have been brought down. They weren't on the beach. And then I really didn't know where to turn.
By sundown, 8 choppers were involved in the rescue efforts. But it would soon be dark, and Bonnie Busey had still not heard from her husband, Nick.
Hours were going by and hours were going by, and, there was no Nick at the beginning of the fire. My biggest concern was me being pregnant and an unborn child. When I didn't see Nick for a long time, then I think my concern was for him.
It took about 5 hours to extinguish the fire. As soon as I was assured by the firemen that they have confined the fire
I sent people with self-contained breathing apparatus to make sure that nobody was still there desperate and looking for help.
I found the first body almost at the entrance of the lobby. I feel sad, you know, because those people was innocent people that died right there.
It was dark.